Segment 2.
Dede Westbrook tweeted out September 7th.
Mark.
Texas still sorry as hell. Hashtag boomer. Cool. Love that. This is Campus Lore Live, where NFL players are the experts on college football. I'm your host, Drew Butler, joined alongside Aaron Murray. And this week, we have Dede Westbrook from the Jacksonville Jaguars and Oklahoma Sooners on to join us, and Brian Burns, first-round draft pick for the Carolina Panthers, out of Florida State. And Aaron, after this weekend, I've got some bad news. This college football season is halfway done. It's unbelievable. Off seasons last so long, and then once you get rolling, it goes by so fast. And we've got some awesome rivalry games on the slate this weekend. One that I want to talk about off the bat is a game that's going to be in Baton Rouge against two top 10 teams. That'd be the Florida Gators, and specifically the LSU Tigers. And as we're at the midpoint of the 2019 season, those LSU Tigers have been a talking point for something that they have not been talked about for in a long time, and that, of course, is their offense. Quarterback Joe Burrow in Heisman contention right now. Joe Brady, the new passing game coordinator. Steve Ensminger, the offensive coordinator. These guys have got it going on, and as I just mentioned, this is a team that hasn't historically had a quarterback. They have been inept on offense, and they have flipped the whole thing on its head. Is this a trend that we're seeing in college football now, where it's all about the offense, spread them out, put points on the board? Because LSU, through 6 weeks, is averaging 54.6 points per game. That's good for first in the country.
Oh, it's incredible. And going back to the offseason, I know there was talks about Brady coming in, Joe Burrow, we're going to run this spread offense, and we're really going to spread teams out and go, try to throw the ball 30-plus times a game, something that I was hesitant about.
Yeah.
You know, we're so used to seeing LSU in a pro-style offense. So for those who don't know, 21 personnel. So 2 backs, 1 tight end, 2 receivers. And all of a sudden, I'm watching film from this past weekend versus Utah State. They're in 5 wide. They're going out there in 4 receivers. They split the running back out. There's no one back there. They're like, when was the last time I've seen LSU do this? So heading into this offseason, heading into fall camp, all this talk about the evolution of the LSU offense. What are they going to look like? What are they going to do? And my big question was, can they sustain this? Is this going to be 1 week, 2 weeks? They maybe have a bad game versus Texas, and it's not very smooth. What happens to this offense? So they then go back to more of that pro-style attack that we're used to for LSU, and they stuck it out. And good thing they have, because it has been absolutely perfection for the first half of the season. They look very comfortable in it, and it's been amazing to me. Because anytime you change offenses, because we're seeing some issues now, say like with a Georgia Tech, and they have a lot more personnel changes that have to occur, but it's not easy going from one style of offense to another. Usually it's different offensive linemen you have to get, different quarterbacks, different receivers, tight ends. A lot goes into it, and then plus just a learning curve of having to learn a completely different language, a new system of ways to run routes, all this stuff. And right now LSU has picked it up pretty fast. And it's only halfway through the season. So I expect them to only get better and better kind of as this season progresses and then as they head into some of these bigger games.
Yeah, those consistent results from LSU is probably not what most people were expecting. Just think of how many offensive coordinators they've gone through in the past, head coaching changes as well, with Ed Orgeron going into his second year. I know he was the interim there for a little bit as well, but what they're doing, getting their speed and space, as Joe Brady likes to say, spread guys out. You're seeing another team in the SEC really do that at the same time, and they're on a collision course right now, and I'm talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide. Talk about 5 wide. I mean, look what Tua Tagovailoa is doing. Devontae Smith had 5 touchdown catches last week, 2 weeks ago, with 10 minutes left in the third quarter. These guys are doing it to it, and I just don't understand how a team like Alabama, who has been so built on the power run game and a stout defense, is going away from that. Is that just from recruiting alone, or is it from coaches simply saying, look at this talent I have, why wouldn't I change my coaching scheme to be with the players that I have?
I think it's, first of all, you can't run it if you don't have the players.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about the players. It's less about the X's and O's. It's all about the Joes.
Yeah.
You know, if you got great quarterbacks and great receivers, and go back to LSU, that's what they haven't had. they've had good skill guys. I mean, they've had Odell and Jarvis and good guys, but they haven't had a quarterback. They haven't had a guy that can throw it around the ballpark and a guy that's mobile enough, too, to kind of move around, too, and use his leg. So that's the key. You can't just say, we're going to run a spread offense and go out there and execute day one. Once again, go back to Georgia Tech. They don't have a quarterback. You can't just all of a sudden evolve into this pass-happy offense if you don't have a dude back there. And right now, both these teams have two of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think the number 1 and number 2 guy, possibly in the NFL draft next year, in Tua and Joe Burrow. So that's what it starts with. It starts with the quarterback, and then you can kind of build everything around it. Because, I mean, I had this discussion earlier with someone about if you're starting an offense and you want to get it going, do you want to start with the skill guys or do you want to start inside? And it's still, offenses are still built from the inside out. It's built from a good offensive line, a good quarterback, and then you kind of go from there. Because at the end of the day, if you can't block and you can't throw, I don't care how fast.
That ball ain't going anywhere.
I don't care how fast those dudes on the outside are. I don't care how good of catchers they are. The ball ain't going to get to them.
Yeah.
So find you a good quarterback, find you some big dudes up front that can protect for 3 or 4 seconds, and that can make average receivers look pretty darn good against defenses in any league, pretty much.
No question. Speaking of any league, I'm going to throw a team out to you who does not have the quarterback right now, and it's showing week in and week out. That's Michigan. Shea Patterson transferred in from Ole Miss last year. Josh Gaddis, the new offensive coordinator from Alabama. Jim Harbaugh tosses in the keys and say, make me an offense that can put points on the board, and it's just not there. And the team that they have to go through is Ohio State, of course, and it's there. Justin Fields is slinging it around. Ryan Day is using his players and coaching his team with the talent that he has. I know that sounds obvious, Captain Obvious, but that's what he's doing. I mean, he's in his first year as a head coach, and they're putting up massive numbers. But just talk about, you just said it, if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to put points on the board. Michigan escaped with a victory last week. They beat Iowa 10-3, but Shea Patterson, I mean, what's going on?
It doesn't match. And for everyone who's talking about this Michigan offense, of Gaddis is here, this is what Shea's comfortable with. He's used to a pro-style offense, and he looks far from used to it. He looks like a guy that was putting the triple option and then putting out all of a sudden in spread offense, and he looks lost.
Yeah.
The accuracy has not been there. The touch has not. That's the biggest thing. For me, his touch is not there at all. Everything's a fastball. They have a long way to go, and I don't see them getting much better throughout the season. It's kind of gone backwards, honestly, from week 1 to now midpoint for this offense. Ohio State, though, completely the other way. This offense has gotten better and better, and they're actually a little bit more of a balanced offense because obviously we got Dobbins at the running back. He can run the football, keep the defense honest, and you got a quarterback like Justin Fields who also is going to keep defenses honest. So you'll get more of one-on-one. Those two things are something that Alabama and LSU don't have.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is why I kind of like what Ohio State has at the moment, because they have a true running game going right now. LSU is still trying to find their identity running the football, and Alabama is as well, which is kind of funky, honestly, to me, because we grew up watching both these teams. And like I said, it's the opposite. It was run the football, Heisman winners at the running back position, running for 200-plus yards. Now both these teams are at best getting 100, 120, 250, maybe sometimes rushing yards per game. Ohio State's a little bit more balanced, which I think is a good thing, because all of a sudden if you face a defense that can play a little bit more too high, keep 6 guys in the box to stop the run, I think that's going to hurt some of these teams. So say when they play in Auburn.
Yeah.
An Auburn team that can get after the quarterback with 4, play back, play tight coverage on the cornerbacks, but still have 2 safeties high, I think that may give LSU and Alabama trouble, especially if they can't find a way to get the run game going.
Especially when you see Joe Burrow making those quick passes in the RPO game. If you have the DBs that can jam and play man and then tackle, that will certainly slow an offense like LSU did.
Well, a lot of these offenses now, and they're losing the run game, but this new passing game, somewhat these RPOs, you brought out the run pass option, it's almost like a run.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these is the quarterback's going to read the box. He gets up to the line of scrimmage. He sees a 6 count in the box. So usually you got 5 offensive linemen and a tight end. So that's 6 guys right there, plus your running back, plus a lot of these guys can run themselves as a quarterback. So you get to the line of scrimmage, there's 6 guys in the box. You say, okay, my 6 can block their 6, plus we have a running back and me. This is good time for us to run the football. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, a team brings a 7th guy in, whether a nickel comes in the box, a nickel cornerback, the 3rd cornerback, or a safety will come down in a single, and then you're like, okay, listen, they got an extra dude here. Numbers aren't great. Let's throw the football. That's when you see these bubbles. 3-by-1. The inside receiver catches a quick bubble. The 2 receivers block on the outside. or you'll get a bubble with a slant around it as well. So it's almost like a run, because you get the ball to an athlete in space on a quick bubble, he makes a guy miss, and boom, all of a sudden he's going for 60, 70 yards. So the evolution, not only of these offenses, but the evolution of the run game, of quarterbacks pretty much saying, or coaches saying, listen, if you can throw it out there and the receiver can catch it and get at least 3 or 4 yards, that is a run.
Yeah.
That is a run in our book. Take it anytime you got free access, and you're seeing more and more quarterbacks just dink it and dunk it and see what they can do.
Let's talk about the run game, because there are some colleges around the nation who are sticking to that pro-style offense. One in the top 5 right now is Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs have a stable of running backs, maybe the best offensive line in the nation, and they lean on those guys to dominate time of possession, move the chains, win third down, and put points on the board. Another team is Wisconsin in the Big Ten. They're playing that Big Ten brand of football. Jonathan Taylor, a Heisman hopeful, look, they line up and say, stop it, we dare you. Other teams, including Penn State. I mean, these are schools that are sitting there going, we see what's happening, but if we get punched in the mouth, maybe we're better fit to fight back. Would you agree with that?
I kind of like it. Every team's a little different, and right now, Georgia and Wisconsin, they got great running backs. I mean, 2 of the best running backs in the country.
Yeah, for sure.
They're always going to have great offensive linemen. So it just, and if you can play great defense and just eat up the clock, I think time of possession is a big thing. I mean, we saw it in Sunday Night Football this past weekend.
For sure.
All of a sudden,
Colts.
Kansas City Chiefs
totally
are this team that wants to spread it out and run that college-style offense. And then you got the Colts, who had the ball for 37 minutes. 37 minutes. And that's a lot what these teams that want to run the pro-style offense, they're going to say, listen, we're going to play good defense still. We're going to run the football. We're not going to go fast. And we're just going to eat up the clock. We're going to cost you about 2 or 3 possessions for your offense. We're going to eat it up. And we're just going to wear you down by the fourth quarter. These 5-yard runs that we're making, all of a sudden are going to turn to 7, going to turn to 8, going to turn to 10. And then boom, all of a sudden you got a 40-yard touchdown run. So that's just how they're built. Not saying they can't evolve if they get more receivers or more tight ends that can split out and flex out, or a quarterback that can be a little bit more mobile. But right now, that's how they're built, and both of them are having a lot of success.
Former head coach of mine, Bruce Arians, who's now the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, used to say it's not about time of possession. It's about time of production. Yep. I don't care how long we have the ball, just put points on the board. That's probably what you need. And speaking of those offenses that really do that, you mentioned Ohio State. They're well-balanced. Clemson is one of those hybrid teams as well. Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence obviously back there slinging it, T. Higgins Jr., Justin Ross. I mean, this team has won 2 of the last 3 national championships. Is that the recipe within all this evolution of offense in college football?
But you still have to have a defense at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you've seen Clemson these past couple of years. They still have a defense to back it up, one of the best in the country. Because if you have a bad day offensively where things aren't going well, just go back to North Carolina a couple weeks. You need at least a defense to step up, and that's what we've seen so much with these Big 12 teams. All this scoring. We can't stop anyone. All of a sudden, offense has a bad day. Well, your defense isn't very good. Then all of a sudden the other team's put a bunch of points on the board. You lose that football game. Georgia did to Oklahoma a few years ago in the Rose Bowl. Obviously, Clemson did that last year to Alabama. Not saying, obviously, Alabama an SEC team, but still the formula of playing good defense and not just saying, listen, we're just going to score a bunch of points to win. I think it's still there. But we're also seeing the evolution of defenses. And it's kind of funny to me. I interview all these coaches before games, and I'm like, what's your base defense going in? They're like, base defense? Like, we don't play base defense.
Yeah.
We don't have 3 linebackers. We have 4 D linemen, 2 linebackers, and 80% of the time we have a nickel in there. Because you have to. All these teams are on the spread offense. So you're seeing more and more coaches go to a nickel or possibly a dime with 6 DBs. And then the way they recruit as well defensively, more athletic, lanky guys, kind of that hybrid safety linebacker, a guy that can play well in coverage, but can also go up there and make some tackles. So they're having to change their game plan up a little bit too, like I said, in the recruiting and how they call and structure their defense on game day.
Interesting topic. You and I could talk about this all day. And next, we're going to talk to a guy who knows a lot about explosive offense. That's Dede Westbrook, former Oklahoma Sooner, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 4th-round draft pick. We're going to chat with him next. Come on right back. Welcome back to Campus Lore Live. Drew Butler, Aaron Murray. There's a big game this weekend, Aaron. It happens to be in Dallas, Texas. Yes, I'm talking about the Red River Shootout. Number 6, Oklahoma taking on number 11, Texas. And with that being said, we're going to welcome in our first guest, and it's none other than Dede Westbrook. Dede played at Oklahoma. He was a 4th-round draft pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, a unanimous All-American, a Biletnikoff Award winner, and a Heisman Trophy finalist. Dede, what's up, my man? Thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Man, thank you guys for having me. I'm doing great for the most part.
Awesome. Hey, in 2016, you had 232 reception yards against Texas. I know there's no love lost in this rivalry. Aaron and I have played in some rivalry games before, but this one seems pretty special. What's that atmosphere like in the Cotton Bowl at the Texas State Fair? I
mean, it's crazy. You just get the pregame jitters, and there's nothing like it. It's surreal. You come out of the tunnel. Obviously, you have Texas mascot there, boo-booing, stinking up the whole tunnel. That's not good. That's not good. But as you come out into the stadium, obviously it's Clemson on one side, and you're hearing all the cheers, and then you cross over to 50 to go and say your prayers, and all you're hearing is boo. You know what I mean? And it's just a surreal moment, and it's just something you'll just have to be on the field to experience for yourself.
Dede, why are the Texas fans so mad about this whole horns down thing? It seems like you can't do it anymore. What's up with that? Are they just being soft on that side?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're just real bitter people. When you don't win often, you know what I mean, then you try to find anything to make an excuse or find a way to win in something. And so that's their way of trying to get back at everyone. But we're still going to do it.
Oklahoma's looked really solid this year. Lincoln Riley, just a fantastic head coach. What do you think the keys are in this specific game? Because last year, Oklahoma was a favorite. They ended up losing off that last-second field goal by Texas. Do you think they just need to play their game and find some significant consistency on defense? Or is there something that they should really look forward to do this weekend to kind of stretch it out and beat Texas comfortably?
For me, being at the University of Oklahoma and, pretty much being under Lincoln Riley and Coach Dupes and, all those guys that are there now that it's a new staff, just pretty much take it one play at a time. Everything else is going to play itself out. And it doesn't even matter, the team that set out. It just happened to be Texas this week. But me knowing them, they're going into it just like a regular game. And with that being said, they're going to go out there and play Oklahoma football the best way that they know how to and come out with the win.
Dede, we were talking about at the beginning of the show about the evolution of offenses, and then Lincoln Riley is kind of at the front of that right now. What makes this offense so special? Is it the players? Is it the scheme? And how does the scheme allow you guys to go out there and play fast and execute and put up all these stupid numbers that you guys put up?
Well, first, let's start with the coach. And Coach Riley, he's a player's coach. Not to disrespect any other offensive coordinator that I have, obviously, because the guys that I'm with now, they're great. But the thing that separates Coach Riley and what made him different from everyone else, to me, is he understands that he's not on the field with us, and he takes that into consideration. And so whenever I would come out to the sideline and tell them how they were playing me, I'd be like, oh, coach, I can beat him on a post. This is how they're playing this. They're overplaying this. Then I come back to the sideline and I tell him that the very next play, he's going to run that play. And that's where it starts. It starts first off with the coaching and then the trusting. And whenever that coach obviously trusts you and you guys put that time in, that day-to-day time, it just builds that chemistry over time to the point where you depend on one another, you count on one another. And that's just where it starts. The players have that love and that fight for Coach Riley to the point where they would go to war for him. And with that being said, that's what pretty much makes everything go. That's the motor to the car.
Yeah, it's easy to see on Saturdays for sure. And they're getting close and closer. Last year, they made the college football playoff for the second year in a row. They're in great standing right now to get back there in 2019. Do you think that this Oklahoma team has what it takes to get over the hump? Because if you remember in that Orange Bowl last year, it was a slow start, but Oklahoma made that a game, and they spotted Alabama 28 or 35 points, I remember.
Yeah, and that's...
Go ahead.
That's the thing, and it's just sometimes I feel like, we kind of get beside ourselves as far as like an offense go because we know that we have the ability to go out there and play with the Alabamas, the Clemsons, the Georgias. We have that capability and we can go in and day out, and play with those guys. It's just all the fact of us like settling in, you know what I mean? And that's kind of the tough part. It's new environment. bigger game, you know what I mean? And sometimes you kind of get out of character, and it's just about, being able to settle down and be like, okay, well, we got that bad play out of the way. Let's focus in, let's lock in, and that's one of the things that we have to figure out as a group and as a unit to get us over that hump, obviously, to be national champions.
Dede, when you look at the Big 12, we're thinking all this offense, all the excitement, big plays, a lot of points on the board. We don't think defense, and I think that's what's hurt them, or you guys, at least in the past, within the playoff system, is not being able to stop someone. Where do you see this Oklahoma defense going the rest of the season? Because to me, they look like they've been much improved from seasons past. Is that the missing piece to win this conference and then to possibly win a national championship this year?
Oh, 100%. But, I mean, if you look around, if you look around college football, there's not really a lot of defense being played in the SEC neither. You know what I mean? Like, you got Alabama putting up 56 points on team. Like, yes, I understand that's Alabama. You have, who was that? LSU dropping 56 points, on the powered SEC defense. You know what I mean? Like, everybody talks about, oh my God, the SEC defense is so powerful, but you got these guys putting up 60 points on other SEC defenses. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's tough, man. Like, everybody's going to the air raid where they're throwing the ball every other down there, run option off of it. Like, it's tough for a defense. It puts you in tough situations. You know what I mean? And it's about pretty much figuring it out, and I feel like right now with Coach Grinch, and all his assistant coaches that he have over there, I feel like we're figuring out, because obviously they're going against the best offense each and every week in practice, and so there's nothing better than that.
Dede, you brought up the air raid offense, and it's been interesting to see quarterbacks in the air raid in college in their transition to the NFL. We're seeing more and more of those guys. And a lot of it is they're just getting more reps throwing the football. They're going out there, all these concepts, and they're getting it over and over again compared to a pro-style quarterback. I have the feeling it's the same thing for a receiver. You get all these chances to run a go route, to run a post, to run a slant, to run a comeback, a bench route, whatever it is. Has that helped you in your development and preparation for the NFL?
Oh, yeah, 100%, because at the end of the day, it's kind of all the same routes. The same route concepts, they all apply. But at the end of the day, it's just like in that air raid offense, you're getting more repetition at it. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing it every play. Like, we probably blocked, I don't know how many times, maybe 10 to 12 times in a game. And other than that, like, you freaking 60 plays, like, you throwing the ball. You try to keep it as balanced as possible. But we all know that throwing the football, it's, really where you get your big plays at, and so, but that being said, it's an easy transition for air raid receivers in college going over to the NFL, because it's all the same thing.
All right, Dede, before we let you go, I need your honest take. What's going to happen this weekend in the Red River Shootout? Give me a score and who's going to win.
Obviously, OU's going to win. I'm going to go 28-21.
Oh, wow.
Low-scoring
game.
Yeah.
Good
deal. I'm going to go 28-21.
All right. Well, Dede Westbrook, we're so thankful that you were able to join us this week on Campus Lore Live, and good luck the rest of the season with the Jacksonville Jaguars. When we come back, we'll be joined by Brian Burns, former Florida State Seminole and current Carolina Panther. Check right back with us. Welcome back, Campus Lore Live. Big thanks to Dede Westbrook for joining us. And we have our next guest, Aaron Murray. It's Brian Burns from Florida State, current Carolina Panther. Brian was the 16th overall pick in the 2019 draft. He had an awesome game yesterday. Brian, thanks so much for joining us, my man. A big game this weekend for your Florida State Seminoles as they head into Death Valley to take on the number 2 ranked Clemson Tigers. And before we get to the game, I just want to ask you, because you had such a good career at Florida State, and obviously you did so much to get drafted in the first round, as a leader, and with all the outside noise that Florida State has had to put up with through the first 5 weeks of the season, the uncertainty about Coach Taggart's job, as a leader, how do you get the guys in the locker room to block everything out and just focus on the task at hand and the game that week?
It's tough. It's not an easy job, but I think the most important thing to do is to gather everybody as a team and just let just know that, like, this is all we got. I mean, no matter what they say, what they do, they're not the ones playing on the field. They're not the ones being coached. They're not the ones coming out every day putting in the work. So that's kind of basically what I went off of. I wanted to bring the guys together, let them know, like, I got your back, you got my back. We got to do this for us.
Brian, when you look at this weekend's game, I don't think there's anyone giving FSU a chance. And I look at Florida State, just like every school in Florida, and I'm like, dude, they got talent. There's plenty of talent on that team. They got a good quarterback. They got running back. They have players to match up against a Clemson. Why is no one giving Florida State any love? Like I said, if you look at talent for talent, I feel like Florida State should have enough to go out there and possibly get an upset maybe.
Upset is definitely possible. I just feel like a lot of people look at stats and numbers and the stat sheet and all of that kind of deal. They don't ever look at the talent and what's at the school and the players. But there's upset is definitely possible if those guys come out there and play the way they're supposed to play. I can definitely see that happening.
You talk about statistics and you look at James Blackman, the quarterback for Florida State right now. Statistically, I was just talking to Aaron about this, our resident quarterback. He's got better stats than Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, the greatest college football quarterback of all time. And if you look at the running back, Cam Akers, he's had an extremely steady year as well. So statistically, Florida State is looking pretty good. Where has the inconsistency come from? What have you seen as such a recent former playing for their lack of maybe urgency in the second half through the first 5 games?
Honestly, it's just a lack of finishing. I mean, this season, the games I've watched, they picked it up. They've made explosive plays. They're scoring back-to-back or whatever, taking a huge lead going into the half, but they can't really put that nail and stomp on their opponent's neck and just finish the game. That's pretty much what I've seen. They always let someone come back on them, and that's been their downfall. But if they can keep that momentum when they start off the game and finish even stronger, there's nobody that can stop them. In
your mind, what's the key to stopping Clemson's offense? I mean, we've seen an offense, honestly, that has not looked like the offense we saw last year. They still got a bunch of great receivers. They got 18 back there at the running back, and then obviously Trevor Lawrence at the quarterback position. In your mind, how do you stop an offense with so many weapons?
Yeah, they have a very explosive offense. My best bet, or my best thing that I would say is to keep the offense off the field. I feel like all the games are won in the trenches. I feel like your D-line is doing their job and your O-line is doing their job. You can set up everything else. If they're getting after Trevor, getting in their head, making his pocket uneasy, having him frustrated, they'll do a great job keeping their offense off the field. And if the offensive line is coming off the ball and letting Cam be able to run and have a successful game, then they can open up the passing lanes. So I feel that everything is won in the trenches.
This Clemson-Florida State rivalry has kind of turned sides recently. In the earlier 2000s and early 2010s, Clemson was the ones punching up at Florida State, and now it's kind of flipped where Florida State's trying to say, hey, we're still here. And you talk to guys, they say Doak Campbell is one of the hardest places to play. I think Death Valley might be as well. What's this rivalry like, and how did it kind of transform while you were in school?
It definitely, because it's coming from a guy that never got to beat Clemson. I mean, I tried so hard. My 3 years there, I never was able to pull off a win. But, yeah, the rivalry definitely flipped. We became an underdog all three of my years. We were never projected to win. And, I mean, I wouldn't say it's personal, but there's definitely some feelings that go into it because I definitely hate it. I wouldn't say hate. I definitely wanted to beat them.
You can say that. Yeah. You can say that.
There are plenty of teams that Drew and I hated at Georgia, so you're good with that one. Speaking of teams that you will say dislike greatly, which one did you circle on your calendar as the team like every year? I mean, even right now, you look at it, if you look at the schedule, you're like, okay, I must watch this game. Is it the game against Florida or is it the game against Miami?
Just out of those two?
Yeah, if you had those two. If you had to watch one of them, as a fan, a former player, which one do you want to watch? I'll
watch the Florida game.
That means more than the Miami game.
Does it mean more?
Yeah, does it mean more?
I wouldn't say it mean more, but that's just in my personal opinion. I'll watch the Florida game because I got a lot of guys at Florida that I know, and I just want to see how that. I make a lot of appointments, a lot of wagers.
Which one's the most hostile? What's the biggest trash talking going on when you guys would play at the Swamp, or would you guys play Miami? What's the most jawing after the whistle blown, guys kind of a little extra pushing and shoving?
It's definitely Miami. That's without saying. Like, we almost got into a fight last year before the game. So, and then during the game and also after the game. So, yeah, it's definitely Miami.
That's great. Florida State historically has had some unbelievable players head into the NFL off the defensive line. What's that group like, that unit, the coaches that coach you guys on the defensive line, and why is there so much pride for that Seminole D-line that has had so much success over the years?
I honestly think it's because of Coach Hagens. I mean, he pounds in those guys' heads every day that we're Florida State, and he pounds their technique and everything. Like, he doesn't give any slack. So he's on them tight, and that allows them, and that makes them play to such a high standard. And I feel like he put so much emphasis on the D-line, like everything starts from the D-line. like I said, it starts in the trenches. So everything starts from the D-line. If they get going, then the rest of the defense will just fall right behind.
Speaking of Florida State guys in the NFL, Jameis Winston's in the division with you at Tampa Bay Bucks. You get to see him twice a year. Do you take it easy on him since he's a Florida State guy and he's a quarterback, or are you still trying to take his head off?
Yeah, I'm still trying to take his head off. It doesn't matter, honestly. I mean,
you got to get those paychecks,
do
man.
you give him a little go Knowles when you tackle him or something? Just to, hey, we're still on the same side a little bit?
I don't give him nothing. I just give him a sack. That's all.
All right, Brian, before we let you go, man, I need your game score and your prediction of what's going to happen this weekend. Florida State's obviously trying to make up for what happened last year against Clemson. You said an upset is possible. Do you think it'll happen?
Yeah, I do, actually. I wanted to go to the game, but unfortunately we're going to be in London or whatever the case may be, so I can't go, whatever the case. But I'm going to talk to my guys the night before. I'm going to talk to them the day of. And I'm going to give them everything I can so hopefully they can get this upset because it'll be a big win and a big momentum change for their season.
Awesome, man. Well, make some of those appointments as well while you're in London, and hopefully the Seminoles can come through for you and they can get a huge victory to really right this 2019 journey that they're on. Brian, thanks so much for joining us, man. When we come back, we're going to talk about Week 7 and tell you what we think right after this. Welcome back to Campus Lore Live. Shout out to Brian Burns for joining us. He's having an awesome rookie season for those Carolina Panthers, playing extremely well. We'll see if he can send some good juju over to the Florida State Seminoles. They take on Clemson this weekend. That's a tall task for Coach Taggart and the Seminoles. But let's look forward to Week 7, and we have some really good games coming up. Before we tell you who we're going to pick, it's time to be bold. Aaron, I'm going to give you the floor. Be bold. Tell me something. After this weekend, half of the college football season in 2019
Well, I'm
going
going to go something off the field a little bit right now. We saw with Houston, Derek King deciding to sit out the remainder of the year, take over the red shirt as a senior. Now all of a sudden you're seeing Rutgers do it. Yeah. So it's kind of that like domino effect now. It just took one team to do it, one player to do it.
Yeah.
Just like this whole transfer thing that started occurring 3 years ago with guys transferring and playing right away. And now all of a sudden you're seeing these guys doing this. So it just, the floodgates have opened. And I absolutely hate it. I think you're going to see maybe a couple more this year, and then going forward, it's just going to keep happening. I don't like it for the fact that you've worked so hard with your brothers and your teammates for all offseason, and you're just pretty much telling them, I quit on you.
Yeah,
I'm done.
I mean,
how
else could you frame it? That's exactly what's happening.
You are quitting on your teammates and saying you're not good enough. I'm going to give it another shot next year. So I hate it for the teammates. I hate it for the team. I hate it for college football. I think it's awful. I think it's abusing the rules right now and taking advantage of it. But I guess if you can, guys are going to. And right now we're seeing this new trend all of a sudden start, and I think it's only going to get worse and worse.
Yeah, I would agree with you. A rule that was meant to have good intentions is unfortunately being abused, and I don't see any end in sight. My Be Bold for this week is one that we discussed a little bit earlier with Dede Westbrook. We talked about the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma, Texas. Everybody's really high on the Sooners, Jalen Hurts. Look, Sam Ehlinger, they got a chance to win this game this weekend, and if they do, which I think they might, I don't think the Big 12 is going to have a team in the college football playoff this year. Stay with me. Clemson, still undefeated, defending national champions out of the ACC. I think 2 SEC teams will get in. I think there's a really good chance the SEC championship is 2 12-0 teams with one team with one loss just on the outside looking in. And then the 4th team is going to be out of the Big 10. That's Ohio State, led by Justin Fields, a team that you have said is playing like the #1 team in the nation through the first half of the season. So sorry, Big 12 fans, but I just think they might be stuck on the outside looking in. And I know that some people could say that I have SEC bias, but it's what's going to happen. Yeah. So bias has no feelings for facts, and that's exactly what that is. Let's get into these Week 7 games, Aaron, and a team that we talked about in the show open was Wisconsin in that power run game led by Jonathan Taylor. They were welcoming in Michigan State. The Spartans just took a fresh whooping from Ohio State last week. Do you think there's any way Coach D'Antonio can regroup and get the Spartans back on track to get a much-needed win in Camp Randall?
No, I mean, Wisconsin defensively, I wouldn't say they're as good as Ohio State, but they're right up there with one of the best defenses in this country. And we saw last week what this team did. So I like the evolution right now of Jonathan Taylor. We've seen these past couple of years, It's been run. I mean, he's just a big, powerful back, and he has great speed in the open field. And he really had a great effort this offseason, saying, I want to be a full running back. I want to be a guy that can be trusted on third down. I want to be all three down kind of guy. I want to catch the ball in the backfield. This year, already 4 touchdowns catching the football.
Yeah.
So that's dangerous. All of a sudden, now you have a guy that can catch the ball in the backfield on a quick little out route, one-on-one with a linebacker, something like that, and then still take it for 20, 30, 40 yards. He is a complete back. I like his matchup against linebackers. And I just like this team right now, especially at home. So I like Wisconsin to win this one.
This game could last about 2 hours. Both these teams love to run the football. I know we talked about the evolution of offense earlier in the show.
You're not going to see it in this one.
But I like how Wisconsin has a great defense, has a great rushing game, but gets off to fast starts. I mean, you put points on the board quick, and then your defense can sit there, and then you start kind of grinding it out. That's a good recipe to continue to win some games. I think Wisconsin, led by Jonathan Taylor, has a good game and wins this weekend. Let's turn our attention towards the SEC. Number 1 ranked Alabama is heading to College Station to take on the number 24 ranked Texas A&M Aggies. Is there any concern here for Alabama? I don't think so. Jimbo Fisher and these Aggies, man, they can't get a break on this schedule. It's week after week after week playing legitimate national title contenders.
Well, I think the biggest disappointment for me this season, honestly, has been the A&M Aggies a little bit. Just for the fact that I know their schedule's tough. I mean, we all knew it. And I wasn't expecting this team to go out there and get 9 to 10 wins. It just wasn't going to happen this year. They're young. They got 6 seniors on the team.
Yeah.
They're building for the future. But Kellen Mond in this offense, in year 2 under Jimbo Fisher, I was expecting a lot more.
Yeah.
And you go back to Clemson, and that was not a good game versus Clemson. They looked nervous. He looked scared a little bit. He wasn't really into the football game, and was not a great performance. And then go a couple weeks later, the game I had when they played Auburn at home. I know it's 28-20. But Auburn whooped them up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, A&M scored a late touchdown, but
Never
that game was not close, and they looked terrible. Defense looked good. The defense even looked good versus Clemson. The offenses look like it's regressed from last season. I know you lost some running backs to injury, but still you got some dudes up front. You got a great receiving core, and Kellen Mond was supposed to take that next step like every other quarterback in Jimbo Fisher's history has taken in year 2. He's looked like he's the same quarterback, if not gone back a little bit from the season last year. So that's been a little disappointing to me. And right now I just don't see it happening. Even though they are at home, I just think Alabama's too much for them. I do think, though, Kellen Mond can have a little bit of juice, a little bit of excitement, just because Alabama's defense has not been anything special so far this year. But Alabama takes care of business. They're too talented. They're too good. They're going to be fresh coming off the bye week, and they go out there and dominate.
Yeah, Texas A&M, to your point, show up in one of these games, right? We know you played Clemson, Auburn, Alabama, LSU, Georgia. That's a lot. I mean, that's a murderer's row right there. But you have to take 1 or 2 of those games if you're really moving towards that 2020 national title run.
Just make it
that
more
everybody
competitive.
thinks they're going to do. Yeah, I agree.
Clemson wasn't competitive, and neither was Auburn.
Yeah, I don't think
if you get blown out by Alabama,
either.
That's 3 games.
Yeah.
That you're not even showing that you're even close to being able to compete in the West anytime soon.
I agree with you. I don't think this one's going to be close at all. Alabama should continue to roll. Speaking of games that might not be close this weekend, we talked to Brian Burns earlier from Florida State. His Seminoles heading up to go take on Clemson. This game's in Death Valley. Aaron, this Clemson Tiger offense needs some vindication after a poor showing against UNC 2 weeks ago.
Well, I think they took the bye week to look at themselves a little bit and like, what's going on, man? We got a great quarterback. We have great receivers. I mean, why aren't we doing what LSU and Alabama is doing? I mean, we are identical to them. Plus, we have a better running back. Yeah. So we should be putting up a lot more points. So hopefully they reassess, figure some things out, go out there and have a great game against a Florida State team that's pretty good and probably a little bit better than what their record is right now. Justin Blackman's back. He's healthy. Cam Akers, probably the best running back in the ACC right now. I kind of like this football game. I think it's going to be kind of close. I think it's going to be fun one to watch. I guess I think Florida State's better than their record. They should have won that game versus Boise State. I think they're maturing as the season goes on. I love the way their quarterback's playing. Like I said, I love Cam Akers. So I'm not saying they're going to win. I had more confidence in North Carolina, but I think this could be a fun game.
I disagree with you. I don't think this will be a fun game. I think Clemson's going to absolutely roll here. They need to have a good showing after what happened against UNC 2 weeks ago and coming out of the bye week. Big Ten action, number 10 Penn State's heading to Iowa. Iowa's still ranked number 17. They dropped the game last week against Michigan. I said Iowa had the most to prove in week 6, and they did typical Iowa things and lost the game that would have really thrown them in the national spotlight.
Yeah, Nate Stanley is a guy that doesn't throw interceptions. I mean, he hasn't thrown an interception since last season. He goes in there and throws 3. He looked rattled. He didn't look very good. Defense looked great, but they're going against Michigan, who we know is not a very good offense. They're back home. Penn State really has not been tested this year. They
look good. They just haven't been tested.
Yeah, they haven't played anyone. So I like this is kind of like a coin flip to me of who's going to win this football game. So then I go to who's home, who's away.
Gotcha.
At Iowa, I think that gives them the edge. I think this is a great game, a close football game. And if Nate Stanley gets back to the Nate Stanley that we know and doesn't turn the football over and they play great defense, I think they win this football game.
Oh, wow. Iowa getting a big home win per Aaron Murray. Penn State's undefeated. I think they get another victory, remain undefeated, set up a huge game against Ohio State in a couple of weeks. Speaking of undefeated teams, number 19, Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons, are welcoming in Louisville. Can Wake keep it perfect? I mean, they're the only other team that can test Clemson in the ACC.
Yeah, they're only undefeated team. I mean, they look good so far this year, playing great defense, great played offense. And going back to watching Louisville, as long as they can contain Louisville's quarterback, keep him in the pocket, don't let him beat you with his legs and make him one-dimensional within the pocket, I think they're going to have a lot of success. So at home, the fan base is actually juiced about some football right now. I think they'll be excited about this one. Like I said, the key is stopping Louisville's quarterback from running the football. I think they can do it. I like Wake winning this football game.
So do I. I think Wake Forest wins and continues their perfect season in college football. We don't get a chance to say that too often. What I think will be the best game of the weekend is the number 7 Florida Gators heading down to Death Valley to take on the number 5 ranked LSU Tigers. We talked about that LSU offense for a lot of this show. Joe Burrow, Joe Brady. Is this their first test going up against the Gators? Because we saw what Florida did last week to Auburn, and the Gators are looking pretty good.
The Gators are looking good. Dan Mullen, the way he schemes up an offense is absolutely tremendous. Being able to use formations like a 1-by-3 formation. So 3 receivers to one side, a tight end to the other. It really makes a defense have to declare, are we going to go man? Are we going to go zone? If it's man, the cornerback will travel, go with the receivers. Linebacker or safety will go out. So the quarterback knows, okay, this is that. You saw it last week with some touchdowns, 2 touchdowns out of that formation. Got a receiver matched up with a linebacker in zone. He catches it, takes it for 70, and another one took it for 7 yards for a touchdown. So he does a great job getting his offense and his quarterback in the right position to go out there and excel. So it's really fun to watch. Defense, Todd Grantham has those dudes playing lights out right now. This is going to be their biggest test going against this offense. To me, it's crazy the fact that I think it's like a double-digit spread right now. It's like 13, 14 points.
LSU is a home favorite, huh?
I think this is going to be a close football game.
Okay.
The way Florida's defense is playing, and you're making fun of them last year, like, oh, they've, top of all these categories, but they haven't played anyone. Well, they played a pretty good team last week, and they shut them down. LSU's offense is better, and they're at home. I like LSU to win this one, but it's going to be close, and it's the reason because they're going to be at Baton Rouge. It's going to be a night game. I think Kyle Trask makes 1 or 2 mistakes that causes the LSU Tigers to win this football game, but it's going to be a fun one. I think this is going to be 7 or less point game.
Does LSU score over 31 points?
They score under 35 points.
Under 35,
under
so
35
over 31.
Over 31's under 35.
There you go. All right, USC is heading to South Bend to take on the number 9 ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish, a historical rivalry. If USC drops this game, they will be 3-3. Clay Helton still on the hot seat. This is not a really good matchup for them. Ian Book and the Fighting Irish are playing good football.
Yeah, right now 5 touchdowns. No, it's against Bowling Green, but Ian Book, he looked great versus Georgia. They look great versus Georgia. I think it's true though. I think they gained some confidence after that. It's hard to gain confidence after a loss.
Yeah.
But I really do think Notre Dame walked away from that game saying, "Holy smokes! Like we can compete with the big boys. Like there's no reason why." We shouldn't go into the rest of our games this season, including USC, and dominate and win. So I think the confidence level's there. It's at home. USC has to travel all the way to Notre Dame. Helton's on. I think he's on his way out.
If this gets out of hand, does Helton lose his job midseason?
I said it from week 1. I said if they're 3-3 at this point in the season after Notre Dame, I think he's gone.
Yeah.
So, Urban Meyer, get ready to go. Urban, man, get ready. You'll be coaching soon enough, I think.
All right, let's head over to the Big 12 and the Red River Shootout. Number 6, Oklahoma, is taking on number 11, Texas. This one's always in the Cotton Bowl at the Texas State Fair. We talked to Dede Westbrook about it earlier. They're going to try to avenge that loss they had last year against Texas. Look, Texas's defense hasn't really stopped anyone all year, But I think both of these teams got caught looking ahead last week. Texas played with West Virginia. West Virginia, not that good. And KU scored 20 points on Oklahoma. Oklahoma only had 45. Obviously, that's a sound victory for them. But you're looking for more against the Jayhawks. What happens in this game? Because this is going to be a fantastic battle, and it's one that will have college football playoff implications.
Well, I love a reporter asked Jalen Hurts, what are you nervous about playing this game? He said, listen, I've played in the Iron Bowl. I'll be fine.
Yeah. What kind of question is that?
I played in the Iron Bowl. I played in national championships.
SEC
I played in SEC championships. I played in the I think I'll be good. And I expect him to go out there and continue to do Jalen Hurts type things. To me, it's both offenses are really good. Both offenses are going to score a lot of points. Both guys, great quarterbacks that can throw it, that can run it, can do a little bit of everything. Great receivers on the outside. To me, it's what defense is better. What defense can make a play, and what special teams can step up with those hidden yards, those kickoff return, punt return, fake field goal, whatever it is that may occur in this football game. So, to me, right now, Oklahoma, even though their defense isn't great, much improved from last season. I think Oklahoma's defense is better than Texas' defense. If all things are equal offensively, go to that. I think Oklahoma wins this football game. I just like Jalen Hurts. I like his mindset right now. I like the way he goes out there and preps and prepares for each and every week. So I like this Oklahoma team, and it's going to be a fun one. Sam Ehlinger will make it fun on that side of the football for Texas, but Oklahoma wins it, and then they'll have to play each other again at the end of the season.
Yeah, I hope so. I love Tom Herman as an underdog head coach. I really like how Sam Ehlinger plays in big-time football games. You just mentioned it. Whether Texas can steal a first down on special teams or even get some points on the board from the defense, they will have a great chance to win this game for the second year in a row, and I think they will. I think Texas is going to come out and get a victory against Oklahoma that will really throw a wrench into the Big 12 and send the college football playoff
this
picture
weekend, right?
reeling. Can't do it.
Can't do it.
Can't do that
no horns down
more.
This week.
Not allowed. Huge thanks to our guest this week, Brian Burns from the Carolina Panthers and Florida State, and Dede Westbrook from Oklahoma and the Jacksonville Jaguars. It stinks that after this, college football is halfway done in 2019, but we will be back next week, and we hope you join us. Thank you.